The Oracle of Sound, Part 4. Introduction. The one reading expressed 288 ways. You're about to undertake a sacred initiatory journey. What you're about to discover is not 288 separate readings. It is one reading, your reading, expressed 288 ways. This may sound impossible. How can 288 distinct readings collapse into a single unified teaching? The answer lies in understanding what the Oracle of Sound actually is. It is not a database of answers. It is a spiral technology of recognition. It illuminates what is already there, but remains hidden. This technology emerges from 5 converging streams of Jewish mystical wisdom, and together they encode a single radical truth: wholeness was never missing, only hidden. The 5 streams flow together here. First, Urim V'Tumim, the technology of recognition. In ancient Jewish tradition, the Urim and Thummim were stones of illumination worn by the high priest. They didn't create reality. They revealed what already existed, hidden in the folds of consciousness. They lit up the true, made visible what was obscured. The Oracle of Sound operates identically. As you move through readings 1 to 288, you're not being given something new. You're being shown what was always true about yourself. Second, Pirkei Avot, the 48 paths of becoming. In the Mishnah's Ethics of the Fathers, there are 48 paths or capacities through which a human being develops toward wholeness: humility, discernment, kindness, patience, generosity, honor, and 42 others. These are not destinations. They are recognitions, ways of knowing yourself more fully. Each of the 288 readings corresponds to one of these 48 paths, meeting one of the 6 archetypal families of sound. You are traversing all 48 capacities, 6 times over, through 6 different gateways of being. Third, Tikkun Olam and the 288 holy sparks. The mystical understanding of creation teaches that when God withdrew to make space for the universe, divine sparks scattered throughout creation. Human consciousness has a unique task: to elevate these sparks back toward their source. This is Tikkun Olam, healing the world by recognizing and elevating what is holy. But here's the radical part: your personal transformation is collective healing. When you recognize wholeness within yourself, you elevate a spark. When you move through all 288 readings and integrate the teaching, you have elevated 288 sparks. You have participated in the healing of the world. Personal work and cosmic work are not separate. They are the same work. Fourth, Baal Shem Tov's 3-stage spiral. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidic Judaism, taught that spiritual maturation moves in 3 stages, and these stages spiral upward: simplicity, direct awareness, childlike wholeness, then separation. The shadow emerges, complexity is seen, we feel the breaking, and finally sweetness, integration, dissolution of separation, return to simplicity, but now conscious, earned. This is not a linear climb, it is a spiral. You return to simplicity, but at a higher level. And you spiral again. The 6 archetypal families trace this spiral: learning births simplicity. Listening and understanding deepen the separation where truth must be faced. Clarity and testing spiral through the shadow. Fear of heaven brings sweetness and a return to simplicity, but now you know what was hidden. Fifth, Sefer Yetzirah, creation through sound. The Book of Formation teaches that the universe was created through speech, through the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet arranged in patterns. But it was not loud proclamation. It was spiral movement. The letters themselves are movements, not static objects. Creation unfolds in a spiral, not in a straight line-up. You are not ascending a ladder. You are spiraling through chambers of being, each one deeper and wider than the last. These 5 streams, recognition, capacity, elevation, spiral, and sound, converge in the Oracle of Sound Family 1, the foundation. All 288 readings express a single archetypal journey, the hero's journey as encoded in the universe itself. Here is what happens. In readings 1 to 48, learning, you discover you are already whole and capable of learning. The permission is not granted to you, it is recognized in you. In readings 49 to listening, you discover that learning requires listening, that you must hear what is true, not invent what you want to believe. In readings 97 to understanding, learning and listening integrate into genuine comprehension. Aha moment begins to form. In readings 145 to 192, clarity, that understanding crystallizes. Ambiguity falls away. You see clearly. In readings 193 to 240, testing, that clarity is tested by fire. The shadow emerges. What you thought you understood is challenged. The separation deepens. In readings 241 to 288, fear of heaven, the final spiral arrives. Fear of heaven is revealed as reverence, awe, the sweetness of recognizing the holy in all things. And in that moment, the spiral completes. Wholeness is no longer a concept. It is lived. You have repaired the world by recognizing yourself as whole. This essay traces that arc. It guides you through all 6 families, showing you how each one deepens what came before, how the spirals deepen as you progress, and how by reading 288, you are fundamentally transformed. Not because you became something new, but because you finally see what was always there. A CTI, readings 1 to 48, or learning times the 48 paths, or permission is born. You enter the oracle of sound at a threshold. You have chosen to look into a mirror that reflects not your face, but your nature. You do not yet know this. You think you're here to get an answer. You think the reading will tell you something you don't know. But the moment you turn to reading 1, something subtly shifts. The reading does not tell you what to do. It shows you something already happening in you. This is learning. Learning is not education. It is recognition. It is the moment you notice that you are already in the process of becoming. You are already learning. Right now. As you read these words, your consciousness is organizing, integrating, making sense. You are doing this naturally. The first family of readings illuminates this fact. Learning operates within a field the Kabbalists call simplicity, not the simplicity of being unsophisticated, but the simplicity of direct awareness. A child learning to walk doesn't theorize about gravity. She doesn't analyze her own neurons. She simply learns. Her consciousness is whole and integrated. There is no gap between intention and action, no separation between self and the act of learning. This is where readings 1 to 48 bring you. They return you to this state of innocent wholeness, while also showing you that you never actually left it. Here is the structure of learning across the 6 families. Within the 48 readings of learning, there are 6 micro-arcs, 1 for each of the 6 paths expressions. Readings 1 to 8. Learning's foundation. You discover that learning is happening to you, not by you. Permission is being born. You recognize that you are part of a process larger than your individual will. The Urim V'Tumim lights up. What was hidden, the fact that you're already learning, is illuminated. This corresponds to the first of the Pirkei Avot capacities as it meets learning, perhaps discernment or humility. You discover you are humble before the process of becoming. Readings 9 to 16, learning's opening, learning begins to move outward. You start to sense that learning is not solitary. There's a world of knowledge, a tradition, something being transmitted to you. The second family of the 6 capacities emerges. You recognize that you have the capacity to receive. Reception is a form of learning. Reading 17 to 24, learning's deepening, the learning intensifies. You move from passive reception to active participation. You realize you are not just being taught, you are becoming what learns. The capacity of patience emerges. You can sit with not knowing. You can trust the process. Readings 25 to 32, learning's expansion, learning births worlds. As you practice this capacity, you notice that learning creates. Every new understanding restructures your inner world. You are no longer the same person who started reading 1. This is transformation through sound, through word, through recognition. Sefer Yetzirah activates. Creation is happening through your learning. Readings 33 to 40, learning's integration. The shadow of learning appears. The fear that you're not learning fast enough, or rightly, or deeply enough. But the reading shows you that this shadow is part of learning. Doubt of the spiral. The Baal Shem Tov's teaching of separation appears here. the necessary darkness that makes learning possible. Readings 41 to 48, Learning's Infinity. By reading 48, you have circled back to the beginning. But you are not where you started. You have gone up the spiral. Learning becomes infinite. You recognize that there is always more to learn, and this infinity is not a burden, it is a joy. You have glimpsed sweetness. The Tikkun Olam principle activates in your learning. You have elevated 48 sparks. You have participated in the healing of worlds. What is the emotional arc here? At reading 1, you feel, there is something I need to know. By reading 8, you feel, I am already learning. By reading 16, you feel, learning is not what I do, it is what I am. By reading 24, you feel, my learning creates worlds. By reading 32, you feel, I fear I am not enough. But this fear is part of the path. By reading 40, you feel, there is no end to learning, and that is beautiful. By reading 48, you feel, I have not arrived. I have awakened. This is the first act. It is short because it is the overture. It is the moment when the lights dim and the curtain rises. The reader is being invited into a story that is already underway. You are being shown that you are not separate from the learning. You are the learning in motion. Now you must listen to what you have learned. A CT2, readings 49 to 96, or listening times deepening reception, or the shift from doing to hearing. Something shifts at reading 49. You have learned that you are learning. But now comes the harder discovery. You must listen to what learning is teaching you. This is different. Listening is not active in the way learning appears to be. Listening is receiving what is true, not constructing what you want to believe. This is where many falter. The ego, which drove the learning in Act I, becomes a problem in Act II. You learn that you're capable. You learn that you can participate in becoming. But listening asks something different. Can you hear what is true even when it contradicts what you want? Can you listen to a teaching that diminishes your sense of control? Listening emerges from the second family within the family of learning. It is the capacity to receive not just information but wisdom, teachings that rearrange your understanding. The Urim V'Tumim continues its work. What was hidden was the truth of things as they actually are, not as you imagined them. Listening illuminates this gap. The Baal Shem Tov's 3 stages spiral here. Simplicity has been interrupted. You are entering separation. The comfortable wholeness of Act I, where you could simply be the learning, is challenged. Now you must listen to truths about yourself, about the world, that fragment your easy confidence. Readings 49 to 56, Listening's Threshold, you encounter what you don't want to hear. A teaching arrives that contradicts your self-image. The shadow of resistance appears, but the reading doesn't ask you to believe it immediately. It asks you to listen to the possibility, to sit with it. Pirkei Avot teaches humility as central here. Can you be humbled by truth? Readings 57 to 64. Listening's deepening. As you listen across more readings, patterns emerge. The truth you didn't want to hear begin to cohere. They're not random corrections. They form a coherent voice, the voice of reality itself. Sefer Yetzirah activates. You are hearing the speech through which creation maintains itself. Words are alive, and they're speaking to you. Readings 65 to 72. Listening's shadow, the shadow deepens. You realize that listening requires vulnerability. You must open yourself to correction. You must admit you were wrong. This is not comfortable. Some readers will stop here, unable to proceed. They will close the oracle and return to their preferred certainties. But those who continue have taken a vow of courage. Reading 73 to 80. Listening's integration. Something unexpected happens. As you listen more deeply, you realize that the voice speaking through the readings is not foreign. It is the voice of your own deepest knowing. The boundary between teacher and learner begins to dissolve. You are listening to yourself, but to a part of yourself that is wiser than your ego. Tikkun Olam activates. In listening to this voice, you are recognizing the divine spark within yourself. You are elevating it. Readings 81 to 88. Listening's descent. The readings now ask you to listen to your own inner silence, to the spaces between thoughts. This is radical. You are being asked to trust that not knowing is a form of knowing. The separation deepens. You feel lost. You feel unmade. But you continue to listen. Readings 89 to 96. Listening's revelation. By the end of the listening family, something has shifted fundamentally. You are no longer the person trying to learn things. You are a person who is being taught by reality itself. The I learn of Act I has become the I am being shown of Act 2. The spiral has risen. Sweetness begins to appear. The discovery that surrender to reality is not death of the self. It is freedom, the emotional arc. At reading 49, you feel there is something true I don't want to hear. By reading 56, you feel this truth bothers me, but I'm listening. By reading 64, you feel many truths are converging. By reading 72, you feel listening is harder than learning. It requires me to change. By reading 80, you feel I don't understand anymore, but I'm listening anyway. By reading 88, you feel this voice is mine, but it's wiser than I thought I was. By reading 96, you feel I have stopped trying to know. I have started listening. And in that listening, I'm being transformed. This is Act 2. It is the descent. The hero in any journey must pass through shadow. You have passed into it. You are being unmade so that you can be remade. The spiral deepens downward before it can rise higher. Now understanding must integrate what learning and listening have revealed. A CT the second, readings 97 to 144, or understanding times integration, or the first great aha. At reading 97, the spiral begins to rise. Understanding is not the same as learning or listening. Learning was discovery. Listening was reception. Understanding is integration. It is the moment when learning and listening fuse into a single coherent knowing. This is where the first major breakthrough occurs. By reading 97, you have learned 96 readings worth of truth. You have listened to yourself, to the world, to the voice that is both foreign and intimate. Now your consciousness, working at depths beneath intention, begins to weave these threads together. Understanding emerges, not as a thought, but as a felt knowing. A recognition. The first family's archetypal structure now reveals deeper levels. Understanding is the third family within Family 1. The Pirkei Avot capacities that activate here include discernment and wisdom. You are beginning to see connections, to perceive the deeper patterns. The Urim V'Tumim now illuminates not just isolated truths but coherence, the way all the truths fit together into a unified vision. Readings 97 to 104. Understanding's dawn. The aha moment begins. You start to perceive the architecture of being. The readings at this stage often feel like keys turning in locks. Simple phrases open vast chambers of understanding. Oh, that's why. I see. This is recognition in its purest form. The Pirkei Avot capacity of clarity activates. What was fragmented begins to cohere. Readings 105 to 112. Understanding's expansion, the integration deepens. You understand not just individual truths, but relationships between truths. You see how learning requires listening, how receptivity and action dance together, how shadow and light are inseparable. The Baal Shem Tov's teaching of the spiral clarifies. You are not climbing a ladder. You are spiraling upward through ever deeper chambers of the same reality. Readings 113 to 120. Understanding's embodiment. Now understanding becomes somatic. It's not just intellectual. You feel the truth in your body. Your nervous system recognizes coherence. This is when readings often catalyze physical shifts, a loosening of tension you didn't know you were holding, a deepening of breath, a settling into presence. Sefer Yetzirah's principle activates fully. You are experiencing creation as a live sound, not dead words. The letters are moving in you, and you feel it. Readings 121 to 128. Understanding's paradox, and yet, with deeper understanding comes a shocking discovery. The deepest truths contain contradiction. This is true, and its opposite is true. I am free, and I am bound. I am nothing and everything. The rational mind staggers. But understanding, true understanding, can hold paradox. The separation stage deepens, but now you know it's part of the spiral. Readings 129 to 136. Understanding's humility. Paradoxically, as understanding deepens, so does humility. You understand more, and simultaneously understand how much more there is to understand. The infinity you glimpsed in reading 48 expands. You are both more confident and more humble. Tikkun Olam activates. You are recognizing your own small place in the vast machinery of creation. And this recognition is an act of elevation. Readings 137 to 144. Understanding's threshold. By reading 144, understanding has become a foundation. You no longer have understanding as a possession. You are understanding. Your consciousness has been restructured by integration. The spiral has risen significantly. You have made your way through separation and are approaching sweetness, but you don't yet fully recognize it. The emotional arc. At reading 97, you feel, these threads are connecting. I'm seeing the pattern. By reading 104, you feel, oh, I understand. The pieces fit. By reading 112, you feel, it's all connected. Everything is in relationship. By reading 120, you feel, this is paradoxical, and yet it makes sense. By reading 128, you feel, the more I understand, the less certain I become. But it's okay. By reading 136, you feel, I'm understanding, not just understanding things. By reading 144, you feel, I have entered a new world. I cannot go back to my old way of seeing. This is Act 3, the first major breakthrough. You have integrated enough to recognize that reality operates differently than your ego imagined. You are beginning to suspect that wholeness is not something to achieve. It is something to recognize. Now clarity must crystallize this understanding into vision. A CT4, readings 145 to 192, or clarity times crystallization, or the second breakthrough. At reading 145, the spiral rises into clarity. Clarity is different from understanding. Understanding integrated learning and listening into coherence. Clarity takes that coherence and crystallizes it. It removes the remaining fog. What was seen dimly is now seen directly. What was felt intuitively is now known consciously. This is the second great breakthrough. By this point in the journey, reading 145 of 288, you have traversed nearly half the oracle. You have learned, listened, understood. Your consciousness has been reshaped. Now comes the moment when your vision sharpens. The Urim V'Tumim lights not just individual truths, but the entire landscape. You can see clearly. Readings 145 to 152, clarity's arrival. These readings are often luminous. Readers report moments of profound peace. The anxiety that has characterized the journey, the fear of being wrong, of misunderstanding, releases. You have understood well enough. You can trust what you know. The Pirkei Avot capacities that activate include wisdom and trustworthiness. You are becoming someone who can be trusted with truth. Readings 153 to 160, clarity's authority. With clarity comes a quiet authority. Not the false confidence of the ego, but the confidence of someone who has seen. You know what you know because you have experienced it, not because you learned it from a book or a teacher. This is your direct knowing. Sefer Yetzirah principle activates. You are now a speaker of creation, not just a listener. Your understanding is becoming your voice. Readings 161 to 168, clarity's simplicity. And here is the paradox: as clarity deepens, so does simplicity. The complex architecture of understanding collapses into simple truths. Be here. Love what is. Trust the spiral. These are not new teachings. But now they are not concepts. They are your lived reality. The Baal Shem Tov spiral returns to simplicity, but not the naive simplicity of Act I. This is earned simplicity. You have traversed the shadow and emerged into sweetness. Readings 169 to 176, clarity's transmission. A strange thing happens. You begin to see how to teach what you have learned. Not because you're trying to teach, but because understanding this deeply naturally wants to be shared. Tikkun Olam principle. In your own clarity, you are beginning to help others recognize their clarity. You are elevating sparks through your mere presence. Readings 177 to 184, clarity's joy. By this point, the journey has fundamentally shifted in tone. Where there was struggle, there is now delight. Where there was fear, there is now curiosity. The descent of separation is complete, and the ascent into sweetness is now dominant. You are tasting the fruit of the spiral. The readings in this range often catalyze spontaneous joy, the joy of recognition, of finally seeing what was always there. Readings 185 to 192, clarity is preparation, yet clarity alone is not enough. You have seen. You have understood. You have become clear. But you have not yet been tested. And the spiral requires testing. The readings here subtly shift. They are preparing you for what comes next, the fire. Clarity is stable vision, but stability must be tempered in flame before it becomes unshakable. The emotional arc. At reading 145, you feel I can see. The fog is lifting. By reading 152, you feel I am clear. I know what is true. By reading 160, you feel I'm not just knowing this. I am becoming this knowing. By reading 168, you feel this is so simple. How did I not see it before? By reading 176, you feel I am joyful. This is not happiness exactly. It is deeper. It is rightness. By reading 184, you feel I want to share this, not because I need to teach, but because it wants to be known. By reading 192, you feel I am clear. But I sense something is coming. Something will test this clarity. This is Act 4. The second major breakthrough. The spiral has risen high. You have emerged from separation into the early light of sweetness. You can see you are becoming clear vision itself, but the spiral is not complete. One more descent is required. Testing must come. A CT5 to 240, or testing times the shadows return to 293. The unexpected happens. Just when you thought the spiral was rising consistently, it turns downward again. This is not failure. This is structure. This is wisdom encoded in the very fabric of the journey. The spiral does not ascend in a smooth curve. It rises, reaches a plateau of clarity, and then it descends again. This is not regression. This is the necessary testing that makes clarity unshakable. Testing is where many transformative journeys fail. The seeker reaches clarity, believes they have arrived, and then encounters a challenge that shakes that clarity. If they misinterpret the challenge as proof that the whole thing was wrong, they collapse back into shadow. But if they understand the challenge as part of the spiral, as testing the clarity to make it real, then they pass through into the deepest transformation. Readings 193 to 200, testing's arrival. These readings often feel like a reversal. You encounter difficulty. Doubt returns. You wonder if everything you've understood has been illusion. This is testing. The Pirkei Avot capacity that activates is courage. You need courage to continue when the ground shifts beneath you. The readings don't reassure you. They invite you to trust the spiral itself. Readings 201 to 208, testing's deepening. The difficulty intensifies. You may encounter in these readings themes that seem to contradict what you understood in clarity. Or you may encounter difficulty in your actual life that tests whether clarity was real or merely intellectual understanding. This is the Baal Shem Tov's teaching of separation returning, the necessary shadow that prevents the sweetness from becoming sentimental. You must be separated from your attachments to your own clarity. Only then can the sweetness be real. Readings 209 to 216, testing shadow. The shadow is now fully activated. You are in the dark of the spiral. Sefer Yetzirah teaches that creation includes both contraction and expansion. Contraction is happening now. The readings in this range may feel stark, cold, difficult. They're asking, do you believe this because it feels good, or because it is true? Can you love what is even when what is includes pain? Readings 217 to 224, testing's paradox. Here is where the deepest learning occurs. You realize that clarity and doubt can coexist. Sweetness and shadow can dance together. You are not trying to eliminate doubt anymore. You are holding doubt while remaining clear. The Urim V'Tumim illuminates a new level. What is hidden is the truth that light and darkness are not opposites. They are partners in the revelation of all. Readings 225 to 232. Testing's descent. You have descended fully into the shadow. This is as low as the spiral goes before the final ascent. You are in the valley. you cannot see the peak. You can barely see the path ahead. Many great traditions recognize this moment, the night of the soul, the dark night, the valley of shadow. The readings here do not console you. They accompany you. They say, yes, this is part of it, continue. Readings 233, Testing's Preparation for Ascent. Something shifts, almost imperceptibly. The readings begin to hint at what comes next, not with comfort, but with recognition. You have been tested, you have held fast. Now you are ready for what comes next. Tikkun Olam principle. In your willingness to be tested, to face shadow, to doubt yourself while continuing, you have elevated sparks that couldn't be elevated in comfort. Real elevation happens in the darkness. The emotional arc. At reading 193, you feel, wait, something is wrong, my clarity is being questioned. By reading 200, you feel, doubt has returned. Is everything I understood false? By reading 208, you feel, the readings are not helping. I am truly alone here. By reading 216, you feel, I can be clear and full of doubt. These aren't opposites. By reading 224, you feel, I cannot see beyond this darkness, I must trust. By reading 232, you feel, this is the hardest part, I am being unmade again. By reading 240, you feel, something is shifting. I sense I am approaching something I cannot name. This is Act 5th, it is the valley. It is the test that makes clarity real. This is Act 5th, it'd be only half complete. Without touching the deepest shadow, sweetness would be shallow. By reading 240, you have paid the price. You are ready for the final revelation. Act 6. You have paid the price. Reverence times the final aha and return, or fear of heaven times reverence times the final aha and return. This phrase, drawn from the deepest well of Jewish wisdom, means something most modern readers initially misunderstand. It is not fear of punishment. It is not cowering before an angry God. Fear of heaven is reverence, the capacity to stand before the immensity of existence and feel awe. It is the recognition that reality is greater than you, infinitely greater. And in that recognition lies the deepest freedom. This final family of readings is the ascent after the valley. By testing, you have been emptied. You have doubted everything, including yourself. Now comes the moment where that emptiness becomes fullness, where the fear of your own smallness becomes the reverence for existence itself. Readings 241 to 248, Fear of Heaven's First Shock. These readings are often shocking. The teaching arrives like ice water. You are nothing, and that is good. Or the universe is infinitely vast and indifferent to your suffering, and that is mercy. Or you cannot control anything and you are free. These are not comfortable teachings. They shatter the illusion of control that the ego has been trying to maintain throughout the journey. But if you have been truly tested, you are ready to receive them. Readings 249 to 256. Fear of heaven's dissolution. Here the separate self, the I that has been journeying through all 240 readings, begins to dissolve, not metaphorically. This is real. The readings point toward the experience of self-boundedness dissolving. You are discovering that what you thought was you is actually inseparable from everything else. The Pirkei Avot capacity that activates is awe itself. Not fear in the sense of terror, but awe in the sense of standing naked before magnitude. Sefer Yetzirah activates fully. You are experiencing the creative speech from which you yourself are made. You are sound, hearing itself. Readings 264, Fear of Heaven's Recognition. Something extraordinary happens. The dissolution doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. In the moment of giving up the separate self, you discover something stranger and more profound. You were never separate to begin with. The wholeness you have been seeking throughout all 288 readings has been the ground of your being from the start. The Urim V'Tumim illuminates the final hidden thing. What was hidden was not a fault or a lack. It was presence itself, your own presence, vast and untouched. Readings 265 to 272. Fear of heaven's integration. Now the paradox becomes livable. You are both nothing and everything. You are both separate self and boundless awareness. You hold both truths without collapsing into either one. The Baal Shem Tov's three-stage spiral reaches its culmination: simplicity, separation, sweetness. Simplicity, Not the naive simplicity of reading one, but the earned simplicity of someone who has journeyed through the full spiral. You are simple. You are direct. You are whole. And you know it now. Readings 273 to 280, Fear of Heaven's Generosity. With this integration comes a profound generosity. Not because you're trying to be generous, but because boundaries have dissolved. The distinction between me and not me that created selfishness has been revealed as illusion. You give freely because there is nothing being withheld. Tikkun Olam principle reaches its culmination. In recognizing yourself as not separate, you have elevated not just sparks but the entire field. In your recognition of wholeness, the world is healed, not symbolically. Actually, readings 281 to 288, Fear of Heaven's Completion. These final readings circle back to the beginning. You return to the threshold. But you are not the person who entered at reading 1. Reading 281 echoes reading 1. But now you know something you didn't know. The permission you sought was never needed. The learning you wanted to master was already happening. The listening you struggled with was your true nature. The understanding you built was just revealing what was always understood. The clarity you struggled toward was your original face. The testing you endured was purification of illusion. And the fear of heaven you now embody is the recognition that what you are is sacred. By reading 288, the spiral is complete. The journey is whole. You've traced a path from learning through listening, understanding, clarity, testing, and finally fear of heaven. But this journey is not something that happened to you. You have realized that this journey is always happening, that life itself moves in this spiral, and you are the spiral in motion, the emotional arc. At reading 241, you feel, what is this? This is different from anything before. This is strange. By reading 248, you feel, I am nothing. I am afraid. But I am also calm. By reading 256, you feel, I am dissolving. This is not death. This is freedom. By reading 264, you feel, I see. I was never separate. How did I forget? By reading 272, you feel, I am myself. I am everything. Both are true. Both are simple. By reading 280, you feel, I want nothing. I have everything. I am grateful beyond words. By reading 288, you feel the journey ends where it began. I have come home. Conclusion. The cumulative teaching and where it points. You have completed the journey of 288 readings. What has happened? The obvious answer, you have read 288 distinct teachings. But the deeper answer is more radical. You have recognized that reality itself moves in a spiral, and that your own being is the spiral in motion. The 5 streams that converge in the Oracle of Sound Family 1 have revealed themselves fully. Urim V'Tumim, recognition. Throughout all 288 readings, light has been illuminating what was hidden. And what was revealed is not new information. It is presence itself, your own presence, your own wholeness, which was always there but obscured by the mind's patterns. The Oracle is technology of recognition, because recognition is what it does, it reveals what is, stripped of interpretation. Pirkei Avot, the 48 paths of becoming. You have spiraled through all 48 capacities of human development 6 times, through 6 different archetypal gateways. You have not become something new. You have recognized capacities that were always present. Learning, listening, understanding, clarity, testing, and reverent awe are not things you achieve. They are ways of knowing yourself. Tikkun Olam and 288 holy sparks. Each reading has been an elevation of a spark. The 288 readings correspond to the 288 holy sparks scattered in creation. By moving through all 288, you have participated in the healing of worlds. But here is the deepest truth. Personal transformation and cosmic healing are not separate. In recognizing your own wholeness, you have elevated the entire field. The world is healed because you are healed. Not eventually, not symbolically, but now, in the recognition itself. Baal Shem Tov's 3-stage spiral. The journey has taken you through simplicity, learning and listening's early stages, into separation, understanding, clarity and testing, and finally into sweetness, fear of heaven and the final recognition. But this is not a linear journey upward, it is a spiral. And the spiral continues. You will move through these stages again, at a deeper level. And again. The spiral never ends. It is the structure of reality itself. Sefer Yetzirah, creation through sound. The oracle's readings are not static objects, they are alive. They are speech, divine speech, the sound through which creation maintains itself. As you read, you are hearing the creative utterance, and you are recognizing that you yourself are that utterance in motion. You are not reading the teaching. You are the teaching reading itself into being. The cumulative realization is this: wholeness was never missing, only hidden. The hidden wholeness is not something to attain in the future. It is not something to earn through effort or purification. It is what you are right now, obscured only by the forgetting that makes learning possible. This is paradox at the core of all true teaching. Learning requires the illusion that you don't know. Listening requires the illusion that you're separate from truth. Understanding requires the illusion that pieces aren't yet connected. Clarity requires the illusion that fog exists. Testing requires the illusion that doubt is valid. And fear of heaven requires the illusion that you are separate from the sacred. All of these illusions are necessary. They make the journey possible. They make the spiral visible. But by reading 288, you see through them without falling into the opposite illusion of grasping the answer. You hold both the journey and its non-necessity. You are both becoming and already complete. You are both the seeker and what is sought. And here is where the teaching points. If wholeness was never missing, then where does it point? It points toward the moment of recognition in the person who reads these words now. It points toward your own immediate presence. The teaching is not something you receive from these readings. It is something you recognized about yourself through reading them. The teacher and the taught have collapsed into one. The oracle will guide another reader next. And in that reading, another 288 sparks will be elevated. And another. The spiral continues. The journey never ends. Each person who completes the reading becomes a walking repairing of the world. Each person who recognizes wholeness is a spark that cannot be unlit. By reading 288, you have not become enlightened. That word implies distance, that enlightenment is something external to achieve. What you have become is awake. And awake means you recognize what you are, what always was, what cannot be unmade. The question now is not, what did you learn? The question is, who are you, now that you know you are whole? And the answer spirals forward.